Okay, then with base by the Mishnah, Hamakadash Isha Obita. Very interesting sukkahs today. Hamakadash Isha Obita or Isha Vachoisa. The screen is good for you? Isha Vachoisa Kachas. A man, of course, if he marries a woman, he can't marry her daughter and he can't marry her sister. Here's talking about the Kiddushin alone, not the relation, not doing, that's the Kiddushin. So it says, if he did both of them simultaneously, which would mean that the question, of course, he can't marry, he can't have relations with. Here, the question is if the Kiddushin even takes effect. That she need to get. That's what and the question also is not that both of them, surely both of them can't be. The question is if even one of them is going to take effect.
How can you do it two together?
He gave we had cases before that he gives them one of them could be a shliach for the other, or somebody could be a shliach for them, and he simultaneously was because both of them. So if he did one, then the second one, then first surely the first one is chal, second one is not chal, but he did both of them simultaneously, and these are chayv krisis, a woman and her daughter, a woman and her sister. So he did two women that are chayv krisis. What he did both of them? He did it simultaneously. So the Mishnah says, "Enin mukudashos." Nothing takes effect. Nothing. Neither one of them needs a get. The Kiddushin didn't take effect at all. Then it brings a story to back up the halacha. Ma'aseh b'chamish nashim was a more dramatic case than just marrying two simultaneously. Ma'aseh b'chamish nashim, there were 5 women. It doesn't say what the story was, why they were doing this, but there were 5 women. So amongst the 5, 2 of them, there were 3 ones that were not related to each other, but there were 2 of them were sisters. And somebody gathered a basket of dates. It happens to be that it was Shalahenoisa. It was even belonged to them. It belonged to those girls. Or but it was Shemitah. So when it was Shemitah, it doesn't belong to them. So a kid said he took Hefker dates, Hefker figs, and that's he could be calling that. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to take Hefker figs and Shemitah, and now it's his. And he wants to be Mekadosh them, and for some reason he wants to be Mekadosh all of them. It doesn't say what the story was. Why do you want to Mekadosh so many women? And what with the dates and that. It must have been some case, I don't know, the wartime, I don't know. But and he wanted to marry all 5 of them, and they accepted. And how did they do it simultaneously? One of them was a shliach for the rest of them to be a shliach Kabbalah to accept the basket of figs for all of them. So are they married? The rest of them are married. 3 of them are married to him, but the 2 sisters are not. Why not one of them? Because they're sisters, and sisters are makana. And say when the Mishnah said before, there was a simple case. He married 2 sisters simultaneously, nothing happened. He betrothed. He betrothed 2 sisters simultaneously, so nothing happens. That was the case over here. It happened to be there were another 3 women also. They did get married, but the ones that are sisters, it doesn't take effect at all. The Mishnah doesn't say why not. Why is
the other 3 go?
They're married. That's a chiddush also. Some of them are not good. This is good. You could do the same ice, and some of them are good, some of them are not good. I think most going to talk about that also. So there's a lot more chidushim in the story than the Mishnah itself. But the main point of the Mishnah was that if he marries 2 women that he can't do, that are chayv krisis to marry both of them, so nothing takes effect. But not immediately. And the one wants to know, how do you know this? Why should that be? Why should it be so? So Rami Bachama brought a pasuk for it. Of course, the pasuk is talking about that it's supposed to marry 2 sisters to be co-wives to each other. The word litzvor means like a co-wife, it's a tzara, and a person cannot marry a woman to her sister. But the Gemara has a drash here. The fact that it says lo sikach. So the Gemara is saying that he's taking both of them together. Litzvor. Tzvor means that they're tzores to each other, which means co-wives. So when he takes the 2 sisters simultaneously, that they're going to become co-wives, lo sikach, which the Gemara is mentioning, not that to iser, but that it doesn't take effect. Lo sikach, the Gemara is mentioning, there's lo yeh lekuchim, afilu bachas mehem. When he takes 2 sisters, so it brings a pasuk. Rabbi Chama didn't say as far. He said a pasuk, but the pasuk says that if he marries 2 sisters simultaneously, it doesn't take effect. He learns it into the pasuk, and huadin is going to also be by the Isha Bita. Once you know the case of Isha Bachosa, so we're going to apply it also to any kind of chayv krisis, and that's going to be the source of this Mishnah. So this was Rami Bachama's drasha. Rami Bachama, he said, I really like my color scheme is not how you usually do it. We'll make the Mishnah's halacha that that'll be the time. That'll be the halacha today. That's today's halacha. And now we want another reason. And we have here Rami Bachama says the reason is because each halachos Allah sikaf litzror. And now Rav is going to say another reason. Rav first says your reason can't be good. I'm like Rav said.
But the Mishnah says Isha v'bita.
Oh, Isha b'achosah. And he brought a pasuk for the second one, and that's going to be the source, and the first one is going to be an application. Once we know Isha Lachosa doesn't have any lekuchim because they're chayvik creases to each other. So too, any kind of chayvik creases, Isha Bit also is not going to take effect because he can't, because same thing as Isha Lachosa. And it doesn't say it's for, it just says a pasuk. Amalei Rabbi said to Rabbi Bacham, your Rasha is not a good Rasha. The end of the pasuk says that a person shouldn't take Isha Lachosa litzror. And if he does, so then the chayv chorus. Did I get it right? Let's see the pasuk on the side. Maybe I got the wrong pasuk over there. It doesn't say. It says it in general. It doesn't go on that pasuk. It's not talking about the pasuk about Isha Lachosa, but in general it says that the chayv chorus at the end of the parsha over there. This is Teiku Yudches. This is pasuk Chavtes. At the end of the whole parsha of Arais, it says that whoever does this is chayv chorus. But the case that you're learning, if you learn shot in the pasuk that he took two sisters simultaneously and it's not chal, so then there's no chayv chorus. The Gemara says over here that the Allah of chayv chorus of marrying a sister is only if he married one and then he had relations with the sister. But if he would have had relations with two sisters without any marriage, so it wouldn't be chayv chorus. I didn't know that, and that's what it seems to say. That the halacha that is chayv chorus for marrying two sisters is only if you marry, not marrying two sisters, so marrying a sister, then having relations with her sister.
That'd be like two zaynas.
Even though they're sisters. So here's what it says: that if he didn't marry them, he does have relations with two sisters. Then it's not considered. It's not chayv chorus. So that's what the Rav is asking. If you say that the pasuk you're learning means that he married two of them simultaneously, and it's not chal Kiddushin to any one of them, so how could the pasuk say it's chayv chorus? It wouldn't be chayv chorus. It would just have relations with two sisters, and also it sounds like Isha Bita. Also sounds like what? Isha Bita also. It sounds a little bit like it's only going to be if he married one of them. Then if he has relations with other ones, it's going to be chayv because Isha Bita. But if he had relations with two women without marrying any one of them, a mother and a daughter, then it wouldn't be. Okay, so that's what it seems to say. So that's Rabbi's kasha. Rabbi said you can't learn the pasuk like you learned. Ella Amarabba Kurabazachazeh. The pasuk you have to learn like the pasuk shot that he took one of them. He took one, or he married one of them. Then he had relations with their sister. Then it's going to be chayv chorus. So you have no source to our Mishnah. How do you know that when he marries two sisters simultaneously, nothing takes effect? To the Rabbah. So now Rabbah is going to explain. Trying to Mishnah do a different reason. And we'll make that also. This is going to be Rabbah. Ella Amar Rabbah. This is Rabbah. That is going to be like Rabbah's din. Rabbah says, Kol she'eno b'zach hazeh afilu b'basachas eino. What's this new law? So I used to always think that this is a law, that whenever you can't do two things one after the other, how do you say that in English? Consecutively, then you can't do it simultaneously either. If you wouldn't be able to do both of them consecutively, you can't marry one sister and then marry the second sister because it wouldn't be chal. That everyone knows wouldn't be chal. When she's a chayv creases, because she's married, the first one was married, so then the second one surely is not going to be married. So then you can't even do it simultaneously. Well, what would be Havamina? That's what we're talking about. That can you do it simultaneously? Then it should be chal on both of them because he thought he's a Ibn Chacham that he can't marry one then the other, but he marries both of them together. So then at that time they were not yet chayv creases, so it's all chal simultaneously. He thought that he can marry both of them. Of course, he won't be able to have relations with both of them, but the Kiddushin is a chal. So he thought it's going to be chal. Now it says no. But if you can't do it consecutively, you can't do it simultaneously either. And I always used to think this is a law. You see in the Gemara, it's not a law. This is a svara. This is a svara. It's saying it's a svara. And Rashi points it out over here that since you can't do it consecutively, so it's a svara.
I know why it's a svara.
You don't know what the svara is?
No.
It's a svara. The Gemara is coming to say, so what's the reason of our Mishnah? So Rabbi says it's a svara. That since you can't do it, the Gemara didn't think, Rabbi Avrohom didn't think it's a svara. He needed a pasuk. But Rabbi thinks that it's a pasuk. Rabbi says it's a svara. Not without any pasuk. If it would be a din, if it would be halacha, then the Gemara is asking, how do you know? Because it's a din. So how do you know the din? That's what we're talking about. So the Rashi says that the Gemara is saying this is a svara. If you can't do it consecutively, you can't do it simultaneously either. And now we have two reasons for Pshat Mishnah. Now we go onto the sugya, and this is going to be a parentheses. We're going to talk about this chiddush of kol sheina b'zeh chazeh. We're going to have other applications and see if it's true, and talk about things that you can't do consecutively. Could you do it simultaneously? Rabbi said
Simultaneously means together.
simultaneously, consecutively means one after the other, unless my English is wrong. And simultaneously means at the same time.
Oh.
If you marry one sister, then marry the second sister, the second marriage wouldn't take effect. So he wants to both of them together. He thinks it's going to take effect. So we say no, since you can't do it one after the next, so then you can't do it at the same time. Now we're going to analyze if that's true. Abai is a kasha on this yisod. You say this principle that if you can't do it consecutively, so you can't do it simultaneously either. Here's a kasha. Here it says, Amar Beva Maisa. Somebody is tithing, supposed to take off a 10. He took off more than a 10. Now, Truma, let's say, you can get it's a big, it doesn't say exactly how much you have to give Truma, but the rice you can give a mashu, then Javan advise a 40, a 50, a 60. But by Maisa, there's an exact amount. By Truma, you can give a Maisa, it's only a 10th. It's exactly a 10th. Exactly a 10th. Somebody gave too much.
This is the Mishnah?
I think so. What if somebody gave more than a 10? So he can't make more than a 10. Let's say he would have said he had 100 apples and he took off 10. First took off 10, so that's my son. Then took off another one, said this is my son. It doesn't help. But also probably is not good already. Once he did it. Now this guy, he took 11. He took 11 apples and he says this is my son on the other 89.
What happens to what happens to the 10 that are good?
So what would we say? So what the Gemara is asking, if you say there's such a law that if you can't do it consecutively, so you can't do it simultaneously either, so we would say that nothing happened. He didn't. The Meiser wasn't Meiser. He took 11 out of 100, and he said this is Meiser. So how could you make 11 out of 100 Meiser? You couldn't be able to make 10 and then 1, so you shouldn't be able to do 11 either. And here's going to say that 10 out of 11 are Meiser. If somebody did this, they roast him with the Kohanim. The rest of the chulin that he has left over, let's say he took 11 out of 100. So he has 89 apples left. So the 89 is okay. The 89 is Musa. But Masrosa with Kohanim, but what he calls Meiser, he says he has 11 apples here that are Meiser, and he wants to eat it as Meiser with Kohanim. It's not good because one of them is Tevel. One of them is not Meiser, and it wasn't taken off Meiser for the other 89. He said these 11 are Meiser on these 89, but the 11th one over there wasn't Mu'usar on.
Who knows which is the 11?
And we don't know which one it is, but one of them, only 10 is Chal, and one of them is not. So he has a problem with his Meiser, that he has Tevel mixed up in his Meiser. But the Gemara's kasha is that nothing should have been Chal. Since if you hold this yisod, that if you can't do it consecutively, you can't do it simultaneously, why was it Chal on 10 out of 11? Namely, we should have said, since he couldn't do it consecutively, he can't do it simultaneously either. Kasha on Rabba. Amalei, Abaye said, Rabba said to Abaye, Shani Ma'aseh D'Isa Lechatzan. It is possible that 11 should become Ma'aseh. Not the whole 11, but 10 11ths of each one. Yeah, these 11 apples. And he says this is Meiser. He could make 10 11ths of each apple to become Meiser. He could do that. Because altogether, it's going to be only a 10. If he would say that he wants to make part of a chita, I'm talking about apples, he's talking about chitim. He wants to make, instead of taking 10 apples, he takes 20 apples, and he says that half of each one should be meiser. You could do that. So, I'll say the pshat that I think the Gemara is saying. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. In essence, the Gemara is saying, really, he didn't mean to be Mekadosh 11. That's the essence that the Gemara is saying. He's not Mekadosh 11. He was Mekadosh only 10. And that's why it's Chal. That's what the Gemara seems to be saying. But it doesn't say 10 out of 11. It says all of each. He said that 11 are going to be Meiser. He means part of the 11. So each one is going to be 10 11ths. So that's the reason why it's Mu'urav. The one that's Chal, you know why it's Chal? Because he didn't make more than a tenth, even though he had 11 apples over there. Since he said this is Meiser, so he meant from this should be Meiser. And how much is it going to be? 10/11 of each one. So you can. The Gemara also could have said for the same money. The Gemara could have said that he only meant 10 apples out of 11. That's what he meant to say. So yeah, but the Gemara made it fancier. The Gemara could be that even all 11 have some Meiser in it, some Meiser and some Teva. So that the Gemara's answering that he didn't do it. He didn't try even to do all 11. And that's why it's Chal on what he's saying. So the Gemara got out of the first kasha. Second kasha. Ma'aseh behema. The leka lachatzan. The leka b'zeh chazeh. Ma'aseh behema means that you have to, from all the animals, the new animals that are born, so you're supposed to put them into a corral and you let out one at a time. And each 10th one, you count 10, and the 10th one is going to be Ma'aseh behema. Leka b'zeh chazeh. If you would have done 10, and then he did the 11th one, he said it's also Meiser. Doesn't happen. It's only the 10th. The 11th one is not Meiser behema. And here the case is V'ama Rabba or Rabba. Yotzu Shnayim Ba'asiri. He had that corral that he was taking the animals out, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when it came time for 10, so 2 of them squeezed out simultaneously. And he said, Maisa. The Korah and Maisa Asiri, and he called both of them Asiri. 2 of them came out, and he said, so what would we say? According to the Yesod of Rabbah, if he would have counted 10, then counted the 11th one, said also that it's 10, it's not Chal. So what should be now that he called both of them 10 simultaneously? Rabbah would say nothing happened. It shouldn't become nothing. Neither one should be Maisa. But here it says that of these 2 that came out, the number 10, so one of them is Maisa and one of them is not. So you see that even though it's not you can't do it consecutively, but you could do it simultaneously. It's on one of here it's interesting. It doesn't say both of them are Maisa. The whole Havin we had till now that both of them should be Kiddushin. But here the Gemara is saying, but it says that that's Chal at least on one of the 2. So it's a Kasha on Rabba also. The answer, Shani Ma'aseh behema, these Betos, that the Gemara is going to answer that it is possible for the 11th one sometimes to be Ma'aseh. We said the kasha was if you can't do it consecutively, so you can't even do it simultaneously. But the Gemara is going to say here it's not so simple that you can't do it consecutively. There is a way to make the 11th one also should be Ma'aseh. What does it say? This is not our subject right now. This first case we don't need. But it happens to be true, but we don't need it right now. Number 9, he called 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he got mixed up and he called the 9th one 10. So it doesn't take, what does it say? That's, we're going to say that that does happen. That if he called it 10, it also becomes Meiser. But that's not our subject right now. Here it says, Ula Siri Tashi. Number 10, he called 9. And then, Ula Achadas Asiri. To the 11th one, he called 10. He called the 9th one 10, he called the 10th one 9, and he called the 11th one 10. So Shloshim Kiddushin, all 3 of them become holy. That means we only need the second 2 cases over here. Is it possible for the 11th one to become Meiser? Yes, sometimes. If you didn't call the 10th one Meiser, once you call the 10th one Meiser, then it's finished. And if you call the 11th one Meiser, nothing happens. But if you didn't call the 10th one Meiser, you called the 10th one 9, number 9 by mistake. So it happens to be that it becomes Kodesh anyway, the 10th. Even though you didn't call it, because it really is the 10th. But then there's room for the 11th one also to be Kodesh, and it does become Kodesh. So that's the Gemara's answer, that sometimes you could have it even consecutive. So it's not a Kasha and Rabbah. Rabbah said, if you can't do it consecutive, you can't do it simultaneous. Here, you could do it consecutive sometimes. So that's also not a Kasha. Kasha number 3, Arei Toda. The Lachmi Toda, when you bring a carbon Toda, besides the animal, you also bring breads, 40 breads. And that's a Lachmi Toda. And the question is, if he took more than 40 breads and he said that this is Lachmi Toda, did they become holy? Because you can't, once you made 40, you can't make more. And here, if he took more than 40 and he said that they should be holy, do they become holy? Arei Toda, the Lachmi Toda, the lesser betos. This Lachmi just said about making a mistake that it could become more than Meiser doesn't apply over there. If somebody would have made a mistake with something, there's no such halacha that the further ones it could become. That thing doesn't apply. and you can't make first 40 should be la'achmito, then not to be mekadosh other ones also. But the itmar, we learn the case that even though you can't do it consecutively, you could do it simultaneously. What does it say? Toda shenishchata al shmonim chalos. That the shechter the korban told, and he had 80 breads designated to become the lachmitot instead of 40. So what would we say? This is the case we should say it's nothing because kol shein b'zechah you couldn't do 40 then 40, and now we did 80 altogether. Does it take effect on anything? So we would say no. Rabbi said kol shein b'zechah afilu b'asachasenu. But here it says chizki amar kashi le'abon mitoch shmonim that at least 40 do become holy. Which ones we don't know, but 40 out of the 80 do become holy. And Rabbi would have said nothing becomes holy. Rabbi Yochanan says that it's nothing. Rabbi Yochanan fits with Rabbi, but Chizkiah doesn't. And the one was asking, are you Rabbi saying only like Rabbi Yochanan, not like Chizkiah? Chizkiah seems to be against you. That's kasha number 3. The more answers, this answer over there. Everyone agrees that if he said he had 80 breads, but he said I only want 40 to become holy out of these 80, which is not the case we're talking about. Our case is talking about when he wants to do simultaneously more than he needs. The case we would have said, let's say by the 2 sisters, just to go back to the 2 sisters. If he said, I want to marry one of you 2, he gave them Kiddushin instead of marrying one of you 2. That's not the subject. We didn't talk about that. And that the Gemara holds is good. The only problem is because he wants to marry both of them. Since he can't do consecutively both of them, he can't do simultaneously either. Here, if he would have said, I want 40 out of the 80, he has 80. We ask him, which ones? I don't know. I want 40 out of the 80 to become holy. So there's no problem. He could do that. And here the Gemara says that everybody would agree that they 40 are holy. But what if he said, Lo yikachu arbom elam ken kachi shmonim, that I don't want 40 to become holy only if you get all 80. Another way of saying I want all 80, so then everybody holds low kachi. And that's not much good. That fits with Rabbi. That's what Rabbi is saying. That if you want to do 80, nothing happens because you can't do it consecutively 40, so you can't do 80 at one time either. And nothing happens. So what is the machlokus then? That he just said, Yikachu. He didn't say what? He didn't say 40 from 80, he didn't say 80, he didn't say. Rabbi Chizkiah says he meant to say achrayis. Means when he said 80, it doesn't mean he wants to mekadosh all 80. He wants to mekadosh 40. It just means that in case something happens with the 40, so I have another backup reserve over here that the second 40 will be in place. But he didn't mean to be mekadosh them as a korban toda, only as a backup. So therefore, Chizkiah holds that it's good, and there's nothing to do with Rabbah. Rabbi Yochanan says even in this case also he wanted all 80, and that's why it's no good because he can't do ba'asachas. So the Gemara answered all 3 kashas. So I would put the end of the parentheses over here. This the Gemara brought 3 kashas to attack the Yesod. Just zoom out a second. Why is this here the whole time? But we don't need this. So why is this picture here? Is it bothering anybody? Okay, I don't know what it wants. Okay. What is it supposed to do for you? Okay, I don't know. So to go back over here, what happened? We had a Mishnah that said it doesn't work. And we're looking for the reason. Avrohom says because of a pasuk. You learned in the pasuk that it say you can't marry 2 sisters simultaneously. Rabbi said it's not a pshat, and he proves why it can't be. And he says the reason is because Rabbi says it's svara. If you can't do it consecutive, you can't do it with basachas. The Gemara had 3 kashas over here to show that to argue on Rabbi. The Gemara answered all 3 kashas. One kasha was Marva b'Maisros, one was from Ma'aser Behema, one was from Lach Mitoda. The Gemara answered all 3 kashas, and therefore Rabbi has the stays, and we have 2. So we have this yisod, the svara of kol shein b'zachaseh, I think b'asachaseh. So we had the Mishnah with 2 explanations.
Everyone agrees to this.
So far nobody argues. I mean, Rabbi Avrohom maybe argues because he says he needs a svara and he needed a pasuk. He didn't go for the svara. Rabbi says you don't need a pasuk. It's a svara. The pasuk is not a good pasuk for this issue, and it's a svara. The more at kashas and the more answered all the kashas. The Rava, back to the subject. Why did Rabbi have to claim the Mishnah like Rabbi that the reason why it's not good is because you can't do it simultaneously since you can't do it consecutive? Kiddushin Shem Masur will be an enu. So this is a new concept. Now we're going into entering a new sugya now. We sort of finished the first sugya, and we're going into a new sugya. It isn't so nice that they put the 2 dots over here. They should have put it over here. They should have put it where we just finished the parentheses. But now we're going into a subject of Kiddushin Shem Masur and Labiyah. That's going to be the next sugya. The Gemara is going to start now. Itma Kiddushin Shem Masur and Labiyah. So the Gemara is the kasha that we're going to see in a second that Rabbi himself holds Kiddushin Shem Masur and Labiyah is not good. What is Kiddushin Shem Masur and Labiyah? Kiddushin is the first stage of marriage, He gives her money, and Bia is the relations. That's called the Nisuin. So if he did Kiddushin in a way that it's not possible for him to do Bia. We'll see cases.
Because of Arias.
Let's say this case of Makadosh Teachoyos. That's going to be a case over here. He married even one out of two sisters. Till now we spoke about he married two sisters simultaneously. So we say that nothing happens. Neither one is married. What if he said a little better? He said, I want to marry one of you two. Which one? I don't know. I want to marry one of you two. So it's not a problem of basachas, because he's not doing more than one. He only wants to do one. So is this a problem? So the more is asking, Rabba didn't have to explain the problem is because he's doing both of them simultaneously, and that would be mashma. It's only a problem of doing both. But if he would have done one of them, it was good. No, Rabba himself holds that it wouldn't be good even if he would have done one out of the two, because Rabba holds that Kiddushin, that it's not possible to have relations, it's not a good Kiddushin. So here, even if he would have married one out of the two sisters, Rabba would also say that's not a good Kiddushin, because which could he have relations with her? No, because he doesn't know which one it is. Maybe he's married to the other one, and he can't have relations with either one. He didn't say which one. If he no, of course, if he goes over Rachel B'Lei, he says Rachel is Rachel. That's no problem. Everybody marries one out of his two sisters. He's marrying one out of the two sisters, but he doesn't know which one.
There will always be one. So there's no issue all the time because he's only. Well, according to his word, he's only going to get married to.
Yes, but he doesn't. But he can't have relations with either one because he doesn't know which one it is. Maybe it's his sister. Maybe it's his wife.
What's the issue?
Isser is to marry, to have relations with his wife's sister. Could he have relations? He doesn't know which one.
It doesn't matter if he does.
Could he have relations?
He'll always only be one.
Yes, but he can't have actual relations with her.
Because he doesn't know which one.
Because he doesn't know which, maybe it's his wife, maybe it's his sister-in-law. He doesn't know if it's his wife or it's his sister-in-law.
No, but he's saying emphatically that no matter which one it is, it will never be two.
Yes, but you're not allowed to marry a wife's sister, even if you're not marrying her. You're not allowed to have relations with a wife's sister.
Oh,
so
she's still besuffic. The second one.
Each one. He doesn't know which is his wife. He has two sisters over there, two sisters. One of them is his wife, one of them is his sister-in-law. And he doesn't know which one it is. So he can't have relations with either one. So this wife is not even a wife, the Gemara is saying now, because when he married, he gave her Kiddushin. If it would have been that he married her, and not as a suffix, which one is his wife, which one is his sister, it's okay, he's married. But here he's not married, because the Kiddushin, if he made Kiddushin to a woman that he can't have relations with, he physically can't have relations with her, because there's a suffix over here. He doesn't know if it's his wife or his sister-in-law. Rava says it's not a good Kiddushin. So Rava didn't have to explain the Mishnah about he married both of them simultaneously and he knows that it's not Masur Labia. Even if he would have done one out of the two, it also wouldn't have been Kiddushin. The Gemara says the fact that Rami B'chama did ask the kasha means Rami B'chama didn't hold of the problem of Kiddushin Masur Labia. The Gemara started off Menani as if to say that Rami B'chama asked Menani. This Gemara Rami B'chama is not a way of saying Rami B'chama. Rami B'chama said that the reason for the Mishnah is because a pasuk. It means he didn't have the problem of, and the problem was marrying them simultaneously. He just learned the problem was simultaneous. So Rabba says to Rami B'chama, I see that you don't hold the problem that I hold of. You don't hold like me. I hold that there's a basic problem over here that Kiddushin Shem Masur Labia, that it's not possible to have relations. So I would say that's pasuk shana in the Mishnah. But you, the fact that you had a pasuk, you have to darshan, means you didn't hold like him. You don't hold like me. So if you say the Mishnah is talking about simultaneous, so then I would say the reason is and that could be pshat in the Mishnah. I myself hold that Kiddushin Shem Masur Labia is not good, and that's the reason for the Mishnah. So that's the point that we have already three possible pshatim in the Mishnah. Either Rami B'chama, he has a pasuk you can't marry simultaneously, or Rava that you can't marry simultaneously because you can't do one after the other. But both these pshatim would only say it's only a problem if you wanted to marry both of them. And there's a new pshat to say that it's talking about even if he would have married one of the two, it's also not going to be good because and that's what the Gemara starts now. Itmar. Kiddushin Shem Masur Labia. So maybe this is really the right place to make the title. Kiddushin Shem Masur Labia. Abaya have a Kiddushin, Rabba have a Kiddushin. And the Gemara is finished. Rabbi B'chama probably goes like Abaya. That's machlokes. That's going to be today's sugya, tomorrow's sugya. If he does Kiddushin that is not possible to have relations, is it a good Kiddushin or not? Hamar Rava. Rava said, Kama. Barahina Asbrali. Barahina, that's the name of an Amora. Barahina explained to me. It means the source of what the halacha that I'm saying, Barahina explained to me. Could be got the whole halacha from Barahina. It says in the pasuk Kikach Ishi Shel Bala. The pasuk says if a man takes a woman and he has relations with her, that's the pasuk we are talking about. And if he doesn't, he wants to divorce her, and then she marries somebody else, and he divorces her, then a massive gushasa. That's how it starts off. If a man takes a woman and has relations with her, why does it have to talk about relationships? She does say if a man marries a woman and then he divorces her, it doesn't have to talk about having beer. You learn that from there. Kiddushin, I'm assuming the beer. Have a Kiddushin, Shem assuming the beer, Kiddushin. That's only called Kiddushin if it's possible to have relations. If it isn't possible to have relations, the Kiddushin is not a Kiddushin already. So we have machlokes if you have this concept or not. This principle is true. Rava says it's true. Kiddushin Shem assuming the beer is not a good Kiddushin. Abaye says that it is good Kiddushin. Tanan, now we're going to try to look for proofs. Our Mishnah, I started off saying that our Mishnah, you can learn two ways. You can learn our Mishnah talking about that you want to marry both women, both sisters, you want to marry both of them, or you can say you want to marry one out of the two. So the Gemara analyzes, what does it say? It says in the Mishnah, Hamakadesh Isha Obita, Oisha Vachosa, Keachas, and on the Kedoshos. The Mishnah talks about marrying both of them. That's what it says. You marry a woman and her daughter, or two sisters simultaneously. So it doesn't say he did one out of the two. It says that he did both of them. So that is not like Rava, because according to Rava, even if he would have married one out of the two, also wouldn't be good. Achas Misha Bita, or Misha Vachosa. Yes, because if we would have married only one out of the two, then it would have been good. It's only a problem. We wanted to marry both of them.
That's what I was thinking. It was one out of the two. Or was he really wanted to marry one out of the two?
That's the question. It doesn't say that. The Gemara is asking. It doesn't say that. It said he
No,
married.
it doesn't say that, but his kavana is that.
So it doesn't say that. The
One
Gemara is asking that. It doesn't say that. The Gemara is asking that. It says he married both of them. Not that he married one. Maybe it could be matrik very much, but it doesn't say that. It says that he married two sisters simultaneously. So it doesn't sound like he married one out of the two. And that's the most kasha. According to Rava, it wouldn't even be good if he would have married one out of the two. Achas Misha Bita, oh, Achas Misha Biachos is Mukadeshes. According to Rava, it shouldn't be good. Amai, Kiddushin Shem Asur Lebi and if you hold that Kiddushin Shem Asur Lebi is not a good Kiddushin, so there wouldn't be Kiddushin even in that case. Why did the Mishnah say a case of two, you want to marry both? It's mashma that's not a problem. This is not a problem about Kiddushin Shem Asur Lebi. Only other problem you can talk about Rami V'chamas Pasuk, because it's Eina B'Zeh Chazeh, therefore it's not B'Asachas, but it's not talking about he married one out of the two. Tiyufta de Rava. It seems to be a knockout against Rava. It's true, the Resh seems to be against me. But let's go to the Sefer. The case of the 5 women with the basket of figs, and the 2 of them were sisters. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah brought a story that there were 5 women, 2 of them were sisters. He collected a basket of figs. It happens to be that it was their figs, but it was Shemitah, so it was Hefka, and he was able to get the figs, and he wanted to marry all of them. And it says that the sisters are not married. How about the rest of them? There was a Kiddush before. The rest of them are married. The other 3 women that are not sisters, they are married. The ones that are sisters are not, but the other 3, it's mashma and mishma that they are married. It was a successful Kiddushin for the other 3. And that's the one problem, which I think was bothering Moshe before. What's the case that the other 3 are married? If he said, the way Mish's mashma, it sounds like he gave one Maisa Kiddushin and he said all of you are married, and part of them are not married because the sisters can't be married. What if somebody is marking something to a friend, but he says not only to you, I'm giving it to you and to the donkey. He made a kinyan and he says, I'm giving this to you and the donkey. The donkey is not a bar kinyan. Donkeys, they can't make kinyan. So the question is,
whose donkey? It's her donkey, then he can. So it's probably.
No.
I mean, for Kiddushin.
No. He wants to sell a piece of land to you and the donkey.
I'm not buying.
Did I get it right?
Yeah.
I got it wrong. I'm sorry.
He wants to make, yeah.
No saying matana. Let's see. Rashi said, what is this?
They minimize the.
What do I do over here? Why is it giving me this
Part of the
picture?
bar on top.
This thing over here. Maybe that. Okay. Rashi over here says the case of this Kriya Atachamor. No saying matanos lenolad or the overshabime imo sheina koneklum. instead of the chamor is only an example that he wants to give a present to a baby that's born already, and also to the fetus that was not born yet. He's giving a present to the two children. One was born, one was not born.
Twins.
That's when one's born, one's not.
Yes, but the fetus means there's a baby there waiting to be born.
Yeah, one baby.
So one was born, and there's a fetus waiting to be born.
Why have to be twins born? He could be 3 years old.
At is a lady.
No.
One
She's
choice.
who's
That's
at?
all in one point. That's
You
one.
No,
talking to
you-
friend.
No,
Yeah,
man,
there's
it says
a-
you
there's a
and the donkey. I
3-year-old
want to give a
baby.
present to you and the
One is
I'm giving you
Ah.
the law.
Atva Chamor is you and a donkey.
Fetus?
Rashi is saying that the Gemara is giving a fancy
And the
expression
and
for
one
a
that's
case
not
of
there.
one that could make a kinyan, one that cannot. And the case was nobody really did a chamor. The Gemara is saying as if it says he wanted to give a present to a baby that's born and also to the fetus which is not born. So it says
It's
Gama
lo
no.
ba'kayama until it's born 40 days. It's not in the world. It's lo ba'ain. Can't you say that? Don't you say that? Once it's not born, there's no knowing that it's going to be a healthy baby or a living baby.
That's not the subject. That somebody, a kid that's not born yet cannot make a kinyan. So now the chiddush is that the one that's
Lo
born,
ba'ain, lo ba'ain.
he's not born. He's not a person yet.
It's not in the world.
Yeah, it's not doing 40 days. Gama no that ain't a kona. So he gave a present to two. One is a bar kinyan, one is not a bar kinyan, which the Gemara makes a fancy example, dramatize it to a person and a donkey. He is calling the baby that wasn't born is similar to a donkey that doesn't have a kinyan. So also the person doesn't make Gama no that ain't a kona. Like no there. He meant to do both of you. He didn't make you or you half and you half. He said both of you. So since part of it doesn't work, the other part also doesn't have. That's the most kasha by the case of the 5 women, that 2 of them were sisters and 3 of them were not. And he said in one act, and one person was a shliach to all 5, and 2 of them don't work, so the other 3 also shouldn't work. About the it doesn't work. You can't make a kinyan, one kinyan that's going to be partially acceptable and partially not. So the case here, if you read the Mishnah Kipshuto that you're talking about kulchem, then it wouldn't be true. The other 3 ladies also wouldn't be mukudashas.
I have a problem because the 3 are they sisters, the other 3?
No,
Oh,
there are 2
okay.
sisters and 3
Oh,
Non-sisters.
sisters and then 3. You can't marry 3 non-sisters.
Why not?
I'm saying, I'm asking.
It's not advisable.
Why can you not marry 3 non-sisters?
Yeah, no, yeah.
You wanted to marry 5.
Before you can marry 100 people. Then you're in big trouble. Yeah, look, keep Shlomo. Look at him.
Elalav, Damalu. So it must be the case is not that he wanted to marry all 5, because it wouldn't have worked. He wouldn't have gotten, if he would have gotten all of them would have been strangers 5, but he had 2 sisters amongst them, and that is not going, so he couldn't marry in the same act. He couldn't have married the other ones either. It wouldn't have worked. Elalav, Damalu, Achas Mikem. It's not the case that it means Kulchem. It has to be that he wanted to marry only one of the 5.
If you can't marry one of the 5, then all 5 are button. Is that what you say?
If he would have done one act, one kulchem, he said a basket of figs, and he says, I'm marrying with you this, all of you. That's what he said. So then none of them are married, even since the sisters are not
Right.
married, so then the other ones are also not married. And it says in the Mishnah that the other ones are
He
married.
puts them into one you call it one basket?
It says in the Mishnah, he took a basket of figs.
That's a mushroom.
Because he
That's
said
a mushroom.
No, that's the physical basket of figs. And he married the women with one basket of figs, all of them. So then it wouldn't work for anybody. Since the sisters doesn't work, so it doesn't work on the other ones either. Now the Mishnah says that for the other ones, it is a good marriage. It must be achas mikem. He said, I want to marry only one of you. And the Mishnah says, en achos mikudashos, means he didn't want to marry. We prove in the case of the rest of them that are married that only wanted to marry one of them. Means at this point we could say that
And he didn't intend to marry one.
he only wanted to marry one.
That was my original
Even though the
idea.
Mishnah
That was
says
my
really
thought.
cool, but let's say that it means one.
Right.
So then it says that the other 3, he married one of the 3. We don't know which one, but he married one of the 3. But the sisters are not included because he couldn't have married them. They're not in the suffix. They're not suffix b'kudashos. Even though this is the case out of only one of the 2. He didn't want to marry both sisters. Only wanted to marry one. Out of the 5, he only wanted to marry one. So the sisters also, Rabbi says, the end of the Mishnah is like me, according to you, that the problem was only because he wanted to marry both of them. In the end of the Mishnah, he didn't want to marry both of them. I'll prove to you. He didn't want to marry all of them. He only wanted to marry one out of them. And you see that it's not good, even though he only wanted to marry one of them. Why should the sisters also not be in the suffix? Only one out of the 2 sisters. If you don't hold to the problem of Kiddushin Shein V'Surim L'Biyah, the only problem is going to be because Kol Shein V'Zeh Chazeh or Amir V'Chamas Pasuk. So then it shouldn't be a problem. So Rabbi says on the contrary, the end of the Mishnah proves like me that even if you only wanted to marry one out of the 2 sisters, also it's not Kiddushin because it's not Masur Labia. So the Resha is Taka sounds like he probably only wanted to marry both of the sisters, but the Sefer says Beferish after this explanation that even if he wanted to marry one out of the two sisters, also it's not good. And that's what the Gemara says now. The Rabba Kasha Resha, Labai Kasha Sefer. The beginning of the Mishnah is against Rabba because it talks about two sisters, both sisters he wanted to marry, and the point that by the Sefer Shvet because over there it says that even if he wanted to marry one of the sisters, also it's not good. So each one's going to have to answer. Each one's going to have to answer the way he holds. Everyone's going to have to make a little drill in the Mishnah. Hamakadesh, Isha Obita, or Isha Bachosa Ke'achas. Abai wants the ratio. The ratio is good for Abai. If he wanted to marry two sisters simultaneously, not only one of them, he wanted to marry both of them. That's the beginning, and Abai is happy with that. If he wanted to only marry one out of the two, then it wouldn't be a problem because it's not a problem of Kiddushin saying Masur Levi. Abai holds it's not a problem. The Mishnah sounds like that. Now you have to continue further. Now you have to stick it in. It's not much a big stick in. But if he said, I only want to marry those that are Ruya Labia, means the Torah doesn't obligate that doesn't require you have to have Kiddushin Masur Labia. But this man said, I'm only marrying those that are Masur Labia, if he said so. If he didn't say so, then it's only a problem if he wants to marry both of them. If he wants to marry one of them, it wouldn't be a problem because there's no issue of Kiddushin saying Masur Labia. But if he says, I only want to be Mekadesh the ones that are Masur Labia, so then then it's not going to be good, even if he married only one out of the two. So Rabbi is now sticking a whole new line into the Mishnah that if in a case where he says he made up his own thing that I want to marry only a Ruya Labia, so then it's not good, even if it will be one out of the two. And at that the Mishnah brings a story. That you don't need this so much. Tiskadesh, leave. I'm not sure. I have to think about that a little bit. I didn't get it straight. I didn't realize this line. But he says, I only want to marry the ones that are fitting to marry me. And the Chacham said it's not good because this was a case of Achas, and the two sisters are not going to marry one of the two because you're not going to know which one it's going to be. So that's the reason why this Mishnah says that it's not good even though it's one out of the two. What did Abai answer? That the Mishnah says my halacha only. That it's, the Reish is talking about that it's only a problem if you want to marry both sisters. Then the Mishnah goes on to a side point. If he would have said only one Kiddushin Masur Labia, but the Torah does not require Kiddushin Masur Labia. That's how Rabbi explains the Mishnah to get out of the problem. And Rabbi is also going to have to say a docha to get out of the Mishnah. Rabbi Matas Tamei, Hamakadesh Achas Meisha Obito, Achas Meisha Vachos. And not like it says in the Mishnah that he married both. Like Achas. He has to stick to the sin. He married one out of the two. So then, it's as if he would have married both of them, which really is very difficult because there's no connection between the two. The reason why it's not good when he marries both of them is because, call it, but it says it's as bad as marrying one out of the two. One out of the two is a problem because of Kiddushin Shein Masur Labia, and the first case also is Kiddushin Shein Masur Labia. So it is difficult why the Mishnah made it as if he married both of them together. I'm not sure if I said it correctly after back. I'm rewinding, maybe I said it wrong. Achas Mishobita, the problem is only because of Ein Masur Labia. And it says Ein Masur Labia is as bad as marrying two of them simultaneously. Well, over there, besides the problem of Ein Masur Labia, it's also that it's a kol shein b'zeh chazeh. So there's no reason the Mishnah should have said this is as bad as that. It's two different problems. Okay, but that's how Rabbi sticks it into the Mishnah in order to be matfik to fit in that it's a problem even if it's one out of the two. It just means down the Mishnah says this is going to be a story that even one out of the two is not good. Here it doesn't say the case of Achas Mikem, it says Kulchem v'Achas, that the rest of them that are not sisters, he wanted to marry all of them, plus one of the two, Kulchem v'Achas Mishtei Achoyos. Rashi goes to explain why the Gemara couldn't just say Achas Mikulchem. So Kitzer, the Gemara got out of the Mishnah to explain both Abai and Rava. The Mishnah, the way it says it, is difficult for everybody. Because the beginning of the Mishnah says he married both sisters. That's not good. And then the Mishnah is mashma that if he married one out of the two sisters, that's the problem. That's also not good. So Rabbi is going to say that the problem was only marrying both of them. And the Mishnah has a case where he invented his mashma also. Is Abai and Rava. And Rava says that the problem is even if you wanted to marry one out of the two. And over there, the problem is because Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah, which in all these cases wouldn't be good. One out of two, both of them, it's Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah. And even if you don't know the Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah, there'll be a problem. Which one? That if he marries a woman, he get ready for Kadesh sleep with a Bazuk, that's Moshe Yisrael, to a woman that he can't have relations with. Like over here, he marries one out of two sisters, so he can't have relations with either one. Even though one is his wife and one is his sister-in-law, he can't have relations with that wife because maybe it's his sister-in-law. He doesn't know. So therefore, it's not going to be Kiddushin at all. He's not married to anybody because it's a kind of a Kiddushin that's not possible to come to consummation. So it's not a Kiddushin anymore. And Rabbi holds this Yisod, the Abai doesn't hold of it, the Gemara is going to have kashas, and we'll see if we can prove if we can prove it. Rabbi says that even if it's one out of the two, it's also not good Kiddushin because it's Kiddushin same as because it's not possible to come to consummation. And our Mishnah, you have to be a dochak. You say that the Reisha is the Iker, and the Sefer is telling a story. He made it up. I'm not going to Kiddushin Leviyah. And what the opposite is true, that the Sefer is the Iker, to say even one out of two is not good. And the Reisha says that it's as bad as marrying two simultaneously, which really is difficult because it's a different reason altogether. The Gemara goes further. Now we're going to try to figure out this halacha. Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth wide line. Tashma. Hamakadesh has bito stam. Somebody married off his daughter, stam, without saying which daughter. Somebody came over to a man and said, I want to marry one of your daughters. So he said, okay. And he gave him the kesef Kiddushin, and the father accepted it. And the question is, which daughter? They didn't specify which daughter he's going to marry. The Mishnah says that anybody that is above 12 and a half is not included because the father doesn't have jurisdiction over his daughter over 12 and a half. But it sounds like the young daughters are in the subject. And they're one of them is married. Is that true?
Which one? Which one?
But we don't know. But none of them should be married. None of them should be, because since you don't know which one, so it's like Rabbi's case of Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah. He can't have relations with any one of them because maybe it's a sister of the real wife. That's the most kasha. The Bogos are not inside this subject because their father has no jurisdiction over them. But the Ketanos are. Means if he has a couple of daughters that are below age, so one of them is married. We don't know which one. But according to Rabbi, Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah, since he doesn't know which daughter it is, so he doesn't know if he can't have a relationship with any one of them because maybe he's marrying, maybe he's having relations with his sister-in-law. Tiyufta the Rabba, that's a knockout against Rabba. Rabba says that Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah is not good. So none of them should be in the suffering. The case is not that there are a lot of daughters. There's only two daughters. There's a 13-year-old and a 11-year-old. And the Mishnah says that the 13-year-old is not the suffix, it's only the little one. But if you have two little ones, if you have two minors, so then no one will be married because the Kiddushin Shein B'Surah and Leviyah. So he has to be mafik. The Mishnah is only talking about that he has one big daughter and one small daughter. And then it says the big one is not in the suffix, only the small one. But if there'd be two small ones,
What's the suffix? What is the suffix?
again,
If
there's only
one daughter, 11.
So there's no
It has
suffix.
to be her.
Oh,
Hey, what about if they're twins?
That can be suffix,
No, has to be one's older and one's
the
younger.
Gemara is an kasha. The Moshe's kasha is in the next line.
right?
In my remember, there's only one small one. So what's the question? Of course, the daughter's out. The big daughter's out.
Right.
What do you
Because
say?
you're not in charge of the older one.
Right. But first, the Gemara is a kasha that it doesn't say that. Bogros katani. It does talk about many, because the Mishnah says that the Bogros are not in the subject. I'll just try to highlight the Mishnah over here. How does it go? Where's the Mishnah? Hamakadesh es bito stam ela Bogros b'chlal. These are the words. These are the words of the Mishnah. If somebody married his daughter and didn't say which one, without saying which one, so the Bogros, the adults means over 12 and a half, they're not in the suffix. That's the word of the Mishnah. The fact that it uses the plural, Bogros is plural. It doesn't mean Bulgarian. Bogros is plural. So that's mashma that there are many daughters. And the Rashi says that the one understands whatever it says about the bogros, and then they're ktanos. If there's a bogeros, there's a ktana. But if there's bogros, then it's ktanos. That's the Mishnah doesn't tell you how many daughters there are. But if it talks about plural, then we're talking about multiple daughters. If we're talking about single, then we're talking about single daughters. So that's more How can you say it's talking about it's only ktana, a bogros katani? So the Gemara says, my bogos dalma. Doesn't mean in this case there are many daughters. It means in such cases, if it happens, so anybody that has a daughter that's a Bulgarian is not in the subject. The Gemara does that sometimes. You don't talk about one person.
We see it all the time.
Okay, but the Gemara now asks Moshe's kasha. If there's only one adult and one minor, and he said, "I'm marrying off my daughter," so of course it means the minor because the adult one is not in his jurisdiction. The case was that the adult daughter also made the father a shliach to get me a shidduch. And the adult daughter, even though the father can't marry her off, but she could make him a shliach. She could say, "Dad, I'm 12 and a half, I'm on my own, but I need help. I trust you. Please, you be the shliach to marry me, to get me a husband." He can't do it on his own, but she can make him a shliach. Anybody can make anybody a shliach.
So that's a trick. It's a trick answer. I mean,
No, it's not a trick answer. It's a big kasha. So how do you know? So why is she not on the contrary now? Why is she not in the suffix? He has jurisdiction over both of his daughters. One is jurisdiction.
No,
one is
because it's her decision. Whereas
yeah, but she made him a shliach. She said, "Abba, do what you think."
Shliach is not the initiator. It's a different mechina.
No,
He's not marrying her off because she wants it. She's as a nar, as a youngster.
No, she authorized him. He has jurisdiction over his young daughter, and he has authorization from his big daughter. And a guy came and said, "I want to marry one of your daughters," and he said, "Good." So how do you know which one it is? Maybe it's the adult one who has authorization.
Saying that you could get confused.
Right, because he's the shliach.
You get confused.
So if the case is that he has authorization,
one is coming as a chosin, and one is coming as a shlichus.
Again, the chosin, no, the chosin is the man. He's representing the color. So he has two daughters of age. One is of age 10 and one is of age 14. And he has jurisdiction over his 10-year-old, and he has authorization from his 14-year-old. And somebody said, "I want to marry your daughter." He said, "Yes, wonderful." And he accepted the Kiddushin. Now the question is which one? So the Mishnah says it's the young one. Why is it not the older one? If he had jurisdiction, if he had authorization from his older daughter to marry her off, maybe he wanted to marry her off.
I mean, I thought the subject is that he's taking that he's katana and marrying her off.
This is the subject. I just told you the subject. Subject is that he has two daughters. One is a katana, and one is a daughter that he has authorization for. And the other question is when he accepts the Kiddushin for stam without saying which one it is, which one is it for? And that's the more discussion now. The more explains. I would have thought that for sure wants to get the older daughter.
Get her out of the way.
I would have thought.
She's
But the Gemara says no, it's the katana. But here the Gemara, the Mishnah says no, that it's going to be the katana. Ain't the bogus b'chlau. Even though he was authorized, she's not in the subject. He married off the younger one. You might have thought the older one, and you can even Ma'adatema. You might have thought that he wants it for the older one. Now, why would you say the reason why? It's a little hard to say this now. When he had an older daughter that he's authorized to make it to be a shliach, and he had a younger daughter, which one did he accept the Kiddushin for?
So the Gemara seems to say the younger one.
Why?
He's going to get money.
Why is it not the older one?
He's going to get money for the younger one.
This day I know. I mean, he wouldn't what's the word? He wouldn't detour something that he could have got money for, because the Kiddushin of the older one is not, the money's not going to get to him. The prut is going to go, or the ring is going to go to the daughter, and the younger one he's going to get the money. So probably that's what he had in mind.
He's going to get all the camels.
But the one doesn't like that. It's not true, because sometimes the older daughter is also going to say, "You keep the Kiddushin." Both of them he's going to get. So how do you know? Why should he prefer?
No, one's halach and one's beratzah. The younger one is because
he's authorized. It's jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction.
And the older one is because he's authorized.
She doesn't have to give him anything. She doesn't have to give him.
But if she wants to.
No, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the halachas.
No, yeah, the halacha. What in the case?
So therefore, we surely say the younger one.
What about in the case? What about if he if the daughter, the older daughter, also said, "I'll keep the money." So both of them is going to get the money. So now, which one does he prefer?
Right.
I still would have thought the older one, because she's older. He wants to get her married first. But the Gemara says no. He's not gonna jump over the one that has a mitzvah. The daughter, the younger one, is a mitzvah on him. The older one is not a mitzvah on him. Not a mitzvah on him. The older one is not a mitzvah on him because she's already on her own. So now it comes out, if they read the Gemara the way it says, that anybody that marries off the daughter over 12 and a half, it's not his mitzvah. It's her own business. It's not his mitzvah. You thought? You ever heard of that? That it's not a mitzvah.
It's not in our world.
It's
but
not a
in
mitzvah.
the old world where that was the age of the
No,
marriage.
in our world,
In
that
our
you marry
world.
off your daughter. How much money do you spend to get your married daughter? How much is it on your head to marry off your daughter?
Thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right. So what are you doing this
How
for?
much-
There's
how
no
much
here.
is
It
it for-
says here it says
Get
that
on the road.
here
Get
it
out
says
of here.
here it
Get
says
move on.
here it says there's
She doesn't even live in your house anymore.
here it says there's no mitzvah. Here it says it's only a mitzvah to marry off your ketana. It's not a mitzvah to marry off your bogeres. Once you're 12 and a half, it's not a mitzvah anymore.
I see that. I don't.
Yes, you don't get a
I
heart
see
attack.
that. I see that because the younger one is under the total jurisdictions of Abba.
That's true. But the older one that's on, isn't it a mitzvah for the father to get her married?
Right.
That's
Yeah,
the mitzvah
but that-
everybody has. That's what's this color. That's for everybody.
That-
It's
that's-
not for the
I tell you what,
So,
it is. It's
the
a
Gemara-
mitzvah of Abat Yisrael. It's a mitzvah
No, so I think
of,
not. I think
of
not.
taking on yourself
Okay, is it a
all
mitzvah?
of your mishpacha.
Is it a mitzvah to marry off your,
But not
your son?
specific.
Is it a mitzvah to marry off your son?
That's a good question.
It's not a good question. It's a mission beferish. It's a ferish
Yeah,
mission.
yeah,
Yeah.
marry off your son
Of course,
when
you
he's
can
young.
marry you. No, there's no. You can't marry your young son. You only have what?
We spoke about this already.
That what?
At age of
That
18,
yesterday,
I
that
don't
is
mean
the-
young.
That's the daughter. That's the
Yeah.
daughter. But if you to marry off your son, yeah, that's a mishnah. That call mitzvahs vein al ha'av. So the father, not the mother, but the father and the father. Kasha, and one of them was Lasio Isha. The mother says over the Bryce that Lasio Isha that and it's not talking about a minor son. It's talking about an adult son. He's already 13 years old, and he's his own jurisdiction. But he do have a mitzvah. Where's the mitzvah come from? It says Ves b'neichem. What is it over there? The flamin on the base. Get 1 second. Let's get the
You have
pasuk
to-
over there.
Because your son has a mitzvah of Puruvu. Your daughter doesn't.
Chaim David, I have a mitzvah for you. You do have a mitzvah to marry her off.
Yeah, it
But
says-
I'm not in your drink.
But the father has a
But
mitzvah
he's-
of
you have to-
This
chinuch.
is the pasuk.
He's 20 years old already.
It's not do that. It has a pasuk that says, "Lasio Isha Menolam Dechsev Kechuna." It says Kechul of Nechem Nashim. Kechul of Nechem Nashim. So this is not do with jurisdiction. The son is not his jurisdiction. The son is a 13-year-old, and it says Kechul of Nechem Nashim, and you're supposed to do whatever you could to get your son married. Now it says
Even after 13.
yes.
Only.
Yeah, now it says
Because
yeah.
it's the chinuch.
Only.
What about chinuch?
What
He
chinuch?
always
Who
does
chinuch?
it.
A son can't marry less than 13.
I understand, but once he's 13, he still has a mitzvah. to
No
do
Don't do it
it.
chinuch. There's a mitzvah to marry off your son.
Even after 13.
Only.
Only there's no
Only-
mitzvah. You can't do it before 13.
All right.
There's no do it chinuch. Don't do
Oh,
it chinuch.
okay.
The son has his own chiyuv to get
Okay.
married, but the father's mechuyev to marry off his son. Now it says Vespino Seichem Tenu Lanashim. The same pasuk that we don't know that you're mechuyev to marry off your son. It says you're mechuyev to marry off your daughter.
Okay.
And the Gemara learns says it's a mitzvah. This is a mitzvah. to marry. And this is the
It's a
pasuk. Yes,
Where is it?
in Yirmiyah,
Oh, it's in Navi.
Yeshaya, Yirmiyah.
In Navi, that's different.
This is what the Gemara learns out there. Mitzvah to marry off your son. Let's see.
But
Yeshaya.
there seems to be also
Mechuyev Nechem Nashim.
That's what we're saying. That's what we're asking.
I can't tell what the pasuk is over here. It seems like
I thought you don't learn halacha from the Vim.
so. We have to go back to that flan, but it's not the subject right now.
I know,
But
but-
this is a mitzvah.
I'm only looking for chumash. I'm not looking. No.
But this is the way the Gemara says you have
Yeah,
a chiyuv to learn to
I can't-
teach to marry off your
Your
daughter,
daughter.
and it's talking about. It says your son also. The Gemara says, "Kasha, your son." I understand how you could get her married, but how do you get your daughter married? So the Gemara says you give her clothing, give her money, that people should want to marry her. But it says beferish that the same
Make it
pasuk that
beautiful.
says you mechuyev to marry off your son. So I see from there there's a mitzvah to marry off even a child that's out of your jurisdiction. So the daughter also, I would say, for sure mechuyev to marry off your daughter. Is a mitzvah. Everyone who's marrying off their daughter is all doing big mitzvahs of marrying off your daughter, even though. But here the Gemara says that this is Ram Yaleh, Shavik Inish mitzvah the Ram Yaleh, the Avid mitzvah the lo Ram Yaleh. So I have to say that
What's
doesn't
Ram
mean it's what.
What's Rami Ali?
That's it's thrown upon him. It's his responsibility. So I think that what it must mean. I didn't look into it, but it must mean that it's more of a chiyuv to marry off his daughter, his young daughter, because he has full jurisdiction, and it's not as much of a chiyuv on the adult daughter. But I think for sure the Gemara says before that is a chiyuv.
I just bring it like it's there's like there's your daughter, there's like your granddaughter. Yeah, of course you have to help out your granddaughter, but it's less of a chiyuv than your daughter.
Similar.
No, I'm just bringing.
But I would say that you don't find that it's such a chiyuv. You don't find it as a chiyuv by the Talmud Torah. It says b'nei v'nechem. I don't know if there's a chiyuv. If a person wants to marry naturally, wants to help out for his granddaughter. But here, I think there's a mamash achiyuv. But I don't think it's talking about Dafka Ketana because same dumya the ben. Right, the ben is out of his jurisdiction, so the daughter also. So I think I'm being matrik a little bit. I have to look at, but I'm pretty sure that the mitzvah to marry for daughter is also by Bulgaris, but it's not as much as a chiyuv as the Ketana. And I think still also we still would have been in the mindset that marry with the older daughter first. But the one says no, that the person's mindset is to do his ikr chiyuv. That's more Ram Yaleh, which is the Ketana. So he does mean to marry with the Ketana and not the Bulgarians.
It's only his mitzvah, and the Gedola, it's
It's her mitzvah also.
and her mitzvah, and everybody has to skala. It's a mitzvah.
Yeah, what's more, she
It could be
can tell you
Chaskal, could be
then,
the
you know,
Ketana
don't get
also.
involved.
But
Maybe
She can say don't
that
get
part.
involved.
But
She can
maybe
say-
that she has her own chiyuv also.
She can say don't get involved. It's my business. I'm my own person.
And what if the son says that?
Fine.
The son says, Abba, I'm already a big boy, I'm 13. I'm a mitzvah, I have tefillin, and I do all the mitzvahs.
you already
Go
know
ahead.
a strimal.
Girls are known to get into that.
No,
headspace much more than
the question is if that's true. The Torah says to marry off your son, so you're supposed to do everything good to marry off your son. How do you do it? You talk to other people to talk to whatever you have to do in order to get married. You have to get your son married. And your daughter also. I think you have to do what you have to do to get your daughter married. If you can't, you can't, but you're supposed to try. That's the mitzvah. And here it says that there's a bigger mitzvah that's
on the baby,
on the Ketana. That's as far as I got.
Very end.
Tashma.
Which one?
The end of the line is Tashma.
Don't buy me. Okay.
Yashikov, everybody.
Maybe I'm
Thank you.
just-
Thank you.